Hi, welcome to another episode of Detroit Investor TV. My name's Jeremy Burgess, a Detroit market expert, and I'm here once again to rant on Section 8. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll realize that I've been not liking and not participating in Section 8 for quite some time now, and excuse me, some of my earlier videos on Section 8 where I started to notice more problems. But the last two I did in November, I had terrible problems with both. I was able to fix one. I'm not going to mention the client name or the property addresses, but I just wanted to give you an example of what can sometimes happen on a Section 8 property and what I find increasingly happen with Section 8 properties. I'm going to give you some ideas why, too, when I get to the end. What I had was a Section 8 property. And as you know, it does take some time to get paid on Section 8, submit the paperwork and all that. After 6 months had passed and repeated phone calls and emails and all that with I guess it was 5 months, 5 or 6 months, no resolution. My property management company and I went down several times. First we got turned away because we didn't have an appointment. Then we got to meet, the case had been turned over to a new person, all that, got all the files to them. Everything was good to go. They said, nope, you'll be paid. A week later, follow up with a phone call. I called and left a message. Then they called me back, and I answered the phone. I've got the phone records to prove it. I actually got the paperwork time-stamped when I'm in there because these people show me they cannot be trusted. By the way, this was the Westland Housing Commission. So if you're thinking, I'll just avoid the Detroit Housing Commission, well, it's suburbs too. Anyway, long story short, the tenant moved out, didn't tell anybody, and switched their Section 8 to a new property, at which point in time the Westland Housing Agency took the opportunity when we finally got a hold of them again to basically say, shove off, we're not paying you the money. It doesn't matter we have a signed HAP agreement, it doesn't matter that we submitted the paperwork, it doesn't matter the tenant lived in there, all that stuff, phone calls I can prove, all that stuff. Of course, my client was understandably upset, as was I. I was incensed, not only because he got ripped off of his money, essentially, but because the enormous number of hours my team and I had into solving this Section 8 problem. Of course, this warranted a phone call to an attorney. Attorney said, yeah, you'd probably win, but the problem is you're going to eat up more fees and lawyers than you're actually going to get back from. So that's not really winning. That's losing twice. So you can't call that winning. So now we're going to put a land contract tenant in it. Obviously, I had much better results with that, significantly better results. And you can go watch all my videos there on here about why I love land contract tenants so much. But I did have an interesting conversation with a fellow YouTuber on there. And I've been giving a lot of thought to why all these issues are occurring. Now, Section 8's always been difficult and challenging, but it seems like in the last year and a half, it's been particularly bad on some of my properties. I've had them cancel inspections because supposedly the inspector was taking bribes. So even though I put tenants in and got signed HAP agreements and they canceled the inspection, I technically didn't have a valid inspection, therefore I didn't get the money. Things like that. I personally believe that this problem is going to get worse and it's going to get bigger. And I think it all comes down to money. The state's out of money. Federal government's out of money, just printing money. And we're going to see some pretty enormous, I believe, coming down the road, welfare cuts. And I think that's going to extend into housing. And I think some of it's already happened. They're just not saying it's happening. So these housing commissions, which most are private, some are government, they're getting less and less money from the federal and the state government, but they got the same number of vouchers, which is why you're seeing vouchers reduced, people losing their vouchers, things like that. They got to come up with all these creative ways to get people off so that they have the actual money to spend on the other ones. And I think now it's involving more and more often straight out fraud, because they realize that there's not much you can do and it's not really worth doing anything. And some of you may say, well, make a point. Well, yeah, make a point on your dollar. At some point, you got to take a bad situation and make it a little bit better. And making a point sometimes is not the best way to get a return on your investment. So I see this problem getting bigger and bigger further down the road. with these. They just don't have the money. They're not going to have the money, and the money's only going to get shorter and shorter and less of it. So I just want to share with you again another. I know I've done a lot of these anti-Section 8 videos, but I really want to keep you abreast of what's going on. Now, keep in mind, of the few Section 8 properties I have left, I'm only having problems with about 35% of them. So it's not every one. The problem is you don't know which one's going to be the issue. And I do sell most of these houses to international investors and out of state investors here in America. And nothing more, nothing is more worse than having a terrible investor experience. They say bad things about Detroit. They never buy from me again. They have a terrible experience or tell their friends. For my particular business model, that just really doesn't work. If you're a small little private guy, or you're holding your own personal portfolio, you can make your own decision, whether or not it makes sense sometimes to hold a Section 8 rental. I'm just letting you know that for my business model, it's a great way to kill profit and ruin relationships, or at the very least strain them to the breaking point, because there's definitely a lot of kill the messenger involved with that. It's a bad situation. So, but anyway, make that choice on your own. It's something that I'm avoiding like the plague now. And as all my Section 8 rentals come up, I'm not going to extend the lease. I'm going to put land contract tenants in them and just get out of that government involvement altogether, because I see the problem and I predict the problem is going to get worse, not better. Once again, I really appreciate your attention. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Detroit Investor TV. My name is Jeremy Burgess, the Detroit Market Expert. Have a good one.